Okay, so the question here was, how do we know which denominator is a or b for hyperbolas and ellipses? Let's first start with what the definitions of a and b are. So a is the center to the vertex, and it doesn't matter if it's running side to side or up and down, it's always the center to the vertex. And that's true for hyperbola down here as well. Center to the vertex, it can run left, right, it can run up, down. It just depends, are we talking about one that's parallel to x or parallel to y? B is always the other direction, so when we're looking at an ellipse, it's the minor vertex, or when we're looking at a hyperbola, it's the other side of the box that defines the asymptotes. In terms of telling A and B apart in an ellipse, A is always the largest value. It's the major axis, so it has to be larger than B. So when you're looking at an equation, it's going to be the larger of the two numbers. And if the large number is under y, you know this thing's running parallel to y. If the large number is under x, you know the axis with all the stuff on it is running parallel to x. In terms of the picture, you have to look and see, if I were just given these pictures and they weren't labeled, I would have to find the vertex and then determine, is this running side to side or up and down. So that's kind of what it is with ellipses. A is the big number, B is the small number, and then where those appear in the equation determines the orientation of these. With hyperbola, it's a little bit different. It's actually easier from the equations because A is always the first number and B is always the second number, regardless of which direction these are running. It's the x and the y that swap places, and that's what tells you is it up and down or left and right. So here, if I were looking at this equation and trying to figure out where to draw A, I was trying to generate this picture, I would go, okay, my vertex is, so it's under the y term is leading, which means this one is going to be transverse y. So I know that this A is going to run up and down. Here, it's under x, so I know this one is going to be transverse parallel to x, and so I know my A is going to run side to side. So there, A is going to be the big number. That is not the case down here necessarily. A or B can be larger. They can just work out either way. But here, you got to be careful where the big number ends up. Tells you which one is A. Here, it's always the leading one that's going to be the A.